So a lot of economists think we worry too much about federal deficits. We've talked about that a lot on this program. We've had economists like Stephanie Kelton on to talk about it. And it's not just a certain school of economics anymore. A lot of economists, mainstream and otherwise, are acknowledging that maybe we just overly fixated on federal deficits, especially when federal spending has a role in growing the whole economy. So it can be a really good thing. But all that aside, since we talked in this hour about the second phase of the Republican tax scam. The first one was the nearly $2 trillion given to the wealthy and to corporations by Donald Trump and the Republicans. And I always think it's important not to call these things, for example, the Trump tax scam, because it's all the Republicans, and they should all bear the burden for this ripoff. Now, they've got another one coming up, as Frank Clementi from Americans for Tax Reform told us in this hour, or tax fairness, excuse me, told us in this hour. But here's another outrage, and this just shows you again how the Republican playbook works. I don't know if you heard about this or if it got much coverage outside of Washington, D.C., where we are, but Trump decided that federal employees should not get the pay raise they had been promised and had been agreed to, 2.1% pay raise to federal employees in 2019. And not only did he refuse to give them this pay raise, but his reason for not giving it was that, quote, we had, quote, a national emergency or serious economic conditions affecting the general welfare. Now, the level of outrageousness and hypocrisy there is almost impossible for the human mind to process without going tilt like an old pinball machine, but we'll do our best, okay? Remember this Donald Trump who led the Republicans in giving away this nearly $2 trillion. Now he doesn't want to give working people the raise that was agreed to. Now, that is, first of all, is bad for the economy, because then that means that's money they're not going to spend in the course of their daily lives because they're middle-class people. If you're going to really worry about money on the federal level, you should make sure it goes in places where it'll get spent so that it has growth value instead of, for example, a nearly $2 trillion tax break that will mostly go to people and corporations that are already just sitting on the money. So, but of course, they don't think this way because the entire Republican Party is basically a scheme to rip off everybody else, and everybody just doesn't understand that yet. So Trump also said in this, and I'm looking for the exact quote here, he said that he will use his authority based on this national emergency or serious economic conditions rule, and that we must maintain efforts. This is a part that galls me too, by the way. We must maintain efforts to put our nation on a fiscally sustainable course, and our federal agency budgets cannot sustain such increases. Well, okay, the total amount of the pay increase, the total cost of giving these working folks what they want is less than the total cost of the first phase of the Trump Republican tax scam, much less of both phases of the Trump Republican tax scam. So, you know, obviously, they don't care when they're lining the pockets of their rich pals. They really don't care about the federal deficit at all. They only care about it when it's time to stick it to working people and the rest of us, including lower income folks who desperately need help that they're denying, whether it's housing assistance, food assistance, or anything else. And no, it's not just Trump. Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, is just as horrendous on this issue. Loves to talk about how we can't afford Medicare and Social Security. Trust me, they're coming for that next.